Welcome to the Crazy Creative Podcast. This is episode 20. First, before we get started, I'm going to mention my two sponsors, CrossFit Hartford, big into fitness and efficiency, and CrossFit is a super efficient training system. If you're interested in something like that, you should check out CrossFit Hartford. Check out CrossFitHartford.com. And then my second thing that I want to mention is the Hartford Adobe User Group, which is a networking group for designers. If you want to meet up and learn about the design field or upgrades in design software, check that out. That's at meetup.com/Hartford Adobe. It happens the second Wednesday of every month. So in a couple weeks, they'll be having one up in Manchester. So moving on to the show. If you've never seen the show before, basically I interview people who are creative or passionate about something, and they follow that passion and either open a business or earn a living doing something that they love. I am a home brewer, not so active lately, but I get paid to do. I'm a designer actually, so Crazy Creative. That's where the show kind of got started, and I kind of have my hand in a bunch of different things like brewing. So I kind of have a love for craft beer, which leads me to
come to the right place.
Yeah, you guys. Here we are in Bloomfield, Connecticut. We were at Back East Brewing with Tony and Ed, the founders, correct?
Correct.
Co-founders.
Co-founders.
Yes.
Now, how did Back East get started? How does that story go?
Well, I'll let Tony tell that story.
Sure. Well, Ed and I are cousins.
Okay.
I'm the better looking one.
I'm the younger one. Looks come with age, I suppose. Ed was out in San Diego. Talk about that?
I was out. Yeah, I was out there for about 6 years, and
okay.
So I moved out there originally from Connecticut. Moved out there in '94. I have a degree in electrical engineering,
okay.
a license in civil engineering. So I was doing a bunch of engineering work, and kind of fell into home brewing.
Okay.
And developed a passion for it. Brewed for about 6-7 years on a homebrew scale. Moved back in 2000.
Okay.
That's kind of where the Back East name comes from.
Okay, cool.
And then kind of fell out of it actually for a little while until about 2006, where you can probably take off from there.
Ed and I got together. Again, we've been out of touch for a few years age difference. We've been out of touch for quite a few years, Ed being out in San Diego. Myself, coming back to Connecticut, I went to college in the late 1990s, graduated in 2000 from St. Michael's College in the Burlington, Vermont area,
Gotcha.
and moved back to Connecticut, started working in the corporate world. My degree is in accounting and business. I've always been into the marketing and the business management and, just kind of getting a business started, running a business, that sort of thing. When I was growing up, my parents owned a candy store basically from the time I was 7 until into college, and I really got into that, watching them run the business. So actually the first thing my father said when I said I wanted to start a brewery, to start my own business, he's like, don't do that, you're crazy. So hopefully we're proving him wrong. They're very supportive now, of course.
Awesome.
But it was sort of that thing where you had a good, stable, steady job in the corporate world, and like you were saying before, following your passion, doing something you love. Ed and I got together in 2006. Our families, our wives at the time, I didn't have.
You had just gotten married. It was actually at your wedding, kind of where we got together.
Right. And we got together and really didn't have a whole lot in common, a whole lot to talk about until we started talking about beer. And as it turns out, we both had a dream to do something like this. So probably wouldn't have done it individually, but put our different skill sets and backgrounds together and said, well, let's try and do this. So in 2006, we bought a 10-gallon homebrew setup, and
Is that it over there?
That's it over there.
That's actually the second one.
That's the second iteration.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we tell everybody that's the first one. They had a really rudimentary one, and
we've done the lobster pot on the sink, the kitchen, that type of thing.
Sure.
Then we had a cut off keg, top cut off, turkey fryer outside. But then when we knew, I always like to say, only 6 short years of planning.
Right.
But one of the things we had to make sure is that we could brew consistent, good beer, the same beer every time. So when we knew that's where we were going, that's when we purchased, what would be a great hobby grade homebrew system, so that we could prove the concept.
Sure. Now, did you guys get together and start as homebrewers, as like more of a hobby, or did you have your mind set on like, no, we're going to open a brewery?
We had our mindset on that.
Yeah, it was always that.
Yeah.
It was the only reason.
Yeah. I mean, we liked brewing. We liked hanging out. We liked, we did it pretty much every other weekend. Every other weekend, most
Saturdays
throughout
in my garage.
the first 4 or 5 years. Yeah, in
funny.
Southington, in his garage, and really got to learn the science of brewing. Started researching what we wanted to do. Figuring out exactly what type of everything down to our image and how people perceive us, what type of beers we're going to be brewing, and how we want to treat our employees, and how we want to be involved in the community, and all those those things that we're excited to be doing now.
Sure,
so.
That's awesome. You and I have something in common. I actually was stationed in San Diego. That's where I sort of fell in love with beer.
Is that Miramar or?
Pendleton, actually. So
okay.
north of San Diego.
Yep.
And it's funny because I tell the story like, Connecticut, the wave of craft beer hadn't really hit here before I went out there. And I was out there between 2002 and 2006. And on weekends, I would drive out to San Marcos and visit like the Stone Brewery when they were there, and like run down the line.
That's a great story.
And then I'd go down the street and Green Flash was right there, and then we'd go to Pizza Port for lunch, and then we'd go like pass out in the barracks, and then the next weekend, the next pay weekend, we'd be like, well, let's take a ride down to Ballast Point or wherever. There were just so many breweries, and I was like, I can't believe it. Like, this is actually beer. Like, I had never really had like craft
good beer
before.
Yeah.
Right, and when I was out there, just to give you a little perspective on the time frame, there was a friend of mine who called me up on a Sunday and said, do you want to go visit a brewery? This is like I was home brewing, and I said, sure, and he said he had a friend who wants to start a brewery in Peru, I think is where it was. So we went over to find this place in Escondido, California.
Okay. Yep.
And it was a place called Stone Brewing. So I'd never been there.
Sure.
And so we get into this kind of industrial complex. There's all these tilt-up steel buildings. We can't even find the place.
Right. Yeah.
Then we actually identified where it was and walked in, and it was about 5,000, 7,000 square feet of empty. A brew house and about 2 or 3 tanks.
Yep.
Bottom line is we spent the day there, hung out with the guys, and that's the first brewery tour I ever did.
Yeah.
Pretty impromptu. And you see where those guys are now.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Many years later.
Oh, yeah. They have an East Coast operation, don't they? Like North Carolina? And a European?
I think they're opening one in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh,
just starting, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of West Coast breweries expanding to the East Coast. It makes more sense to have a second facility.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny because even when I came back in 2006 to Connecticut, the craft beer still wasn't as big as it is now.
Right.
There was only a handful of breweries in the area.
Right. I mean, I think at one point in time, we registered as with the Brewers Association. That's the industry trade group for craft brewers. We registered as a brewery in planning, and
we were one of 3.
We were one of 3 at the time.
Yeah, one of 3, and 2 of those, one came in, one fizzled, one never happened.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was a year later, there were 9, and then 18.
There's a ton now.
It's really just and since we opened, the interesting thing, since we opened in 2012, more breweries have opened up after us. So in a weird way, just being 3 years old, we're kind of like the veterans of the industry. When we opened, there were a handful, literally 5 or 6. I think we might have been this 6th or 7th brewery to open up in Connecticut. Now there's 30 plus.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's a little crazy.
I used to be a beer advocate nerd for a while. Not so much lately, but are beer advocates still pretty popular? Now it's mobile.
There's Untappd. There's a few other apps and there's a few other ways that a few other beer apps and websites dedicated to the industry. And the neat thing about it is not just the websites and the apps, but I mean just the whole slew of companies kind of growing up around the craft beer world. I mean, there's marketing companies, there's manufacturers, there's producers, there's growers, there's all of these businesses that are flourishing because of the growth of craft beer. Yep. So it's not just
all tied,
it's all all the stuff we use, the the ingredients, the equipment, the parts, fittings. We had our HVAC guys out here yesterday. We've had different people doing work in the building, and so it's really it's really, it reaches beyond just kind of, our little silo, our little business here.
Plus, so. I feel like there's like in the craft brewing world, you guys are kind of united versus, it's not like
it's
alone.
There's a lot of there's a lot of camaraderie. In the field, and I think that just kind of speaks to, the love of beer. Everybody loves beer. Or at least most people love beer.
Right.
But so I think that helps. And it's kind of it's local. We're generally not stepping on each other's toes. In that respect. So I think that kind of helps a little bit.
I think there's a huge movement towards local lately. That's really, like in the last few years. I think craft beer has a lot to do with that, in my opinion.
Right.
Really, like a lot of the buy local, support local, and like that, the same wave that's coming in lately. I really enjoy seeing other than beer, there's other things. There's guys in
local
Hartford making handmade shoes and Hartford
jeans,
prints. They're making they're printing things by hand. You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Well, we're obviously we're both from Connecticut, but we're both proud Americans, and the whole buy American. Support local. I mean, we make good product. We make the best products in the world, whether it's beer or cars or whatever it happens to be. And there's a resurgence of that because you need to be able to manufacture. You need to be able to create something in order to really generate wealth. I'm not an economist, but I'm going on a limb here. But you really need to be able to be proud of something that you're producing and say, hey, this is an American-made product, it's a local product, and oh, by the way, it's good. And it's just as good, as any other, kind of product out there.
Definitely.
So
I think it's interesting, I think for a long time, I don't know, growing up, it was like, you buy, my dad would always be like, oh, you can get more at this cheaper price. That was like a popular thing. And now I feel people are more into get something quality. Pay a little more for a better product.
One thing my father always said to me was, don't be afraid to spend a little more on what you want.
Right.
On a good quality product. So, and that's what we try to, to produce good quality, solid beers that people want to keep coming back and drinking. So, and that goes together with you mentioned the whole local resurgence. And this is something that. Although it appears kind of new, it's something that 100 years ago everybody would have been doing. Anyway, it was only within the latter half of the 20th century where you got into goods being shipped across state lines, and you started getting products that were international and things like that.
So, you guys are both in San Diego. It's one of the biggest ports in the world, right? How much product comes through there from China and you're saying something before about just kind of the industry, and you just want to comment. It is a tight knit industry. I mean, we as craft brewers, depending on how you count it, anywhere between 10 and 15% of the market, which means there's 85% of the market out there that's not local, small, independent brewers,
and
it's the big. We used to call them the big domestic brands. None of them are
not domestic anymore.
Not domestic. They're all foreign owned.
European, South African,
right? Canadian. Most of a lot of that beer is brewed still here, but the companies themselves aren't American companies anymore, unfortunately. And we're kind of chipping away at that. At that growing that kind of 15% share.
Sure. I saw a stat recently that said even Connecticut actually craft beer consumption is way up. Of the beer consumption, craft beer was up. I know Connecticut was real low for a long time. It was wine only.
We were a little late. We were a little late to the game, I think. But we're definitely coming on strong. There's a lot of camaraderie in the industry. I mean, we're kind of all in the same boat together.
Sure.
Craft brewers. Obviously, we have recipe secrets and intellectual property and trade names and things like that we need to protect, but best practices, things like that, safety and better ways to do things, better ways to improve our beer, which ultimately is going to funnel its way out to all of the brewers who kind of share things. And so we're close with most of the breweries. I know you did an interview at New England Brewing Company. We love those guys. We're great friends with them. Relic Brewing Company in Plainville. Mark's a great guy. Get along great with him. And it's really just a small, fun industry. And like I said, we're all in it while we compete, we're all in it together.
Sure.
Beer is a product that you're gonna, go out and buy every week.
Right.
And you're gonna be drinking different beers and trying different beers, and
definitely.
everyone's gonna have their favorites. But I think ultimately, if we can, show to people that it's a little more expensive, but it's worth that extra cost too.
To support something local and get something that is way better than the cheaper alternative. I think, in my opinion.
And for my part, if you think about the craft beer drinker, they have their favorites, but one of the hallmarks of craft beer is the variety. So if they're going to, brewery A or brewery B, they're going there for different things. They're going for the subtle nuances, the different style choices, things like that, maybe even the atmosphere. So that helps to relieve some of the competitiveness that you might see in a lot of other industries where you're selling widgets.
Right.
Each widget is the same. You're looking for the cheapest price on that. So
definitely. So what's the day like here? What's an average day at the brewery? What is
hectic.
Yeah.
Hectic and long. Dirty, wet, and then fun toward the end.
It's like one of those like memes where it's like people think you're like sitting in a lawn chair drinking beer all day, when literally you're cleaning all day long. Like.
It's a lot of work. It's laborsome, but we knew it back getting into it, and we've learned a lot over the last 3 years, and it is hard work. And I think some people think that you push a couple buttons, turn a few valves, throw some hops in, and then you got all these cans of beer and all these kegs of beer. But there's a lot of work that goes into it, and you really have to love it to do it. And it's not for everybody.
It's not cheap.
No,
definitely not cheap. A lot of the materials we use, are expensive materials. Because we need them to stand up to the cleaners that we use and things like that. And also the manufacturing of the same materials is not cheap as well, because they have to be sanitary fittings. They have to be designed such that they're micro-polished and things like that. So,
and one of the things we don't do here is kind of skimp on things. And, if there's something we need, if there's something that's going to make the brewery safer and environment safer, it's going to improve the quality of the beer, that's you have to make those investments to be able to get a good product, and I think hopefully a lot of the breweries opening up are kind of have that same mentality, but you really need to invest in things, and you need to make sure you're doing things the right way. It is from a homebrew, for people who've homebrewed like Ed and I, it's a lot different. You're not doing, you're not putting beer in buckets and plastic tubs and things like that. You have a product that you're selling to consumers, and you have to be responsible
orders,
for that.
And that's
a
lot more stressful when there's dollars on the line.
Exactly, that too. Yeah,
you dump 5 gallons. Oh well, we'll try again.
Right. You come up with a beer that doesn't taste right, or it's infected. You might get your friends to drink it for free, but you can't. That doesn't happen when you're. You lose a customer very quick if they bought something and they tried it and they said, well, this isn't good, and you know what? There's 2,000 other breweries out there. I'm going to try something else next time.
It's funny. It's getting like weird, because I remember before, like I said before, you could go in like, oh, here's the craft beer section. Now it's like it's overwhelming. I'm like, holy crap! I've never even heard of half of this stuff.
When I had moved back, one of the things that struck me odd. Leaving San Diego, when I went to the local liquor store, you would see, out of 10 cases, you would see 9 of them would have like craft brews of different sort, and then you'd had the other domestic ones. And then when I came here, it was exactly the opposite.
Right.
And I said, gee, I had always thought that here in Connecticut we're about 10 years behind the curve on some of the innovation, some of the growth. Now I'm thinking it's more closer to 15 years, because about the time we got started was kind of about the 15-year mark, where now you go into stores and you'll see a lot more craft beer, and the cold case for that domestic has gone, and even the even just the traditional imports, the Germans, the Becks, that type of stuff. It's a lot smaller. So
definitely. Well, we got to take a break already.
All right.
So let me pause this, and I'll reset it, and then we can take it off from there.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Cool. Welcome back. So you guys had also mentioned that you're involved in the communities. Are you involved by sponsoring events and things like that, or
yeah, we do a lot of sponsorships of events. A lot of people doing charity auctions, raffles, that type of stuff. I mean, last year we did over 200 donations, this sort of things like that. Also in the months of in the month of October and November, we do the whole month we do a special event, and so actually October is coming up pretty soon.
Sure.
We'll do it again this year for the third year. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Okay. Yep.
So if you wear pink, something pink, into the tasting room on a Friday, you'll get a free glass, and also with for every 6-pack or growler we sell on a Friday in October, we'll donate $1 to breast cancer awareness. And so last year we raised close to $1,000, and this year hopefully we'll do it. We'll do over $1,000.
Cool.
So again, that's people coming by on a Friday in October into our tasting room. And our tasting room here, where we're sitting right now, is open Wednesday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m., and Saturday from 12 to 4.
Awesome.
And the way it works basically is we have a free round of samples. We have anywhere between 4 and 7 beers on tap, and we'll pour you 4 to 7 samples of the beer. We have all the beers to go, growlers, 6-packs
cool.
here as well. So that's Wednesday through Friday, 4 to 7, and then Saturday, 12 to 4. And on Saturdays, we also have tours. Our tours are $3 a person, and you get a little small sample glass to keep. You get samples, and you get the tour.
Nice.
So the tours start at 12, 1, 2, and 3.
Cool.
So definitely come by in October. Also in November, we do Movember, which is for men's health.
Nice.
So we do the other side of the coin there. On Fridays in November, if you come in and have a mustache, and there were lots of women coming in with fake mustaches, and we let it slide. But if you come in with a mustache, or
well, to be fair,
beard,
we didn't say you had to be a man with
That's
a mustache.
true.
We said you had to have a mustache.
That's funny.
and they were fake mustaches, but we let them slide. You get a free glass with any beer purchase on a Friday in November if you have a mustache. And the same type of thing. Also, we'll donate $1 for every 6-pack or growler that we sell on a Friday in the tasting room to
Cool.
Movember, which is a charity for men's health. So.
Nice. Do you guys do a lot of beer festivals? Also, this is kind of beer festival season, isn't it?
Yeah, a ton of them. I mean, most of the major big ones. Tony could talk more about that, but what is it? Brass City.
We've got coasters here for the Brass City Brew Fest coming up on September 12th. There's a lot of beer festivals going on, a lot of charity type events. This weekend, there's a Hops for Hope event. There's a few, and actually that's all sold out. But there's quite a few big events. Some that have been going on for years, some new ones. So we try and participate in as many as we can. We have a pretty limited staff, we're still, despite the fact that we brew a lot of beer and get it out across the state of Connecticut, we're still a pretty small staff. So we're stretched thin. We're all kind of working weekends, covering events. The months of August, September, and October, especially for
events
beer
are
festival.
fun, but man, they're exhausting.
It's a lot of work, but it's a good chance to get out and talk to customers and
other brewers and stuff.
and the other brewers, and that's when we have fun with them as well. So.
That's cool.
Well, yeah.
Do you guys ever submit beers to the Great American Beer Festival? Any type of award?
Yep. Actually, on the wall, we've won.
Okay.
Our Back East Ale and our Porter have both won several medals. Great International Beer Festival and a couple other beer type competitions.
Cool.
So we're proud of the beers we brew, and our Back East Ale and our Porter are the two that kind of got the most recognition so far.
Is that do you find that to be beneficial to kind of promote, to have those types of things, to get the name of the brewery on the map, or is it
to be honest
for bragging rights?
To be honest, I maybe 10 years ago I think it was more of a status type of symbol. There's a lot of with the rise in craft beer, there's a lot of other competitions out there. We don't send our beer out to a lot of those.
Okay.
I mean, we just do I think two per year. So,
sure. Okay.
But there are a lot of those, and again, 10 years ago there was a lot of bragging rights. But with the way craft beer has grown and what craft breweries are doing, there's a lot of kind of one-off beers. There's a lot of different beers that you're not necessarily going to say, oh, this is the best IPA or the best stout or porter in the country. It really there's just so much different beer being brewed that I don't know that a lot of those are as relevant as they may have been 5-10 years ago.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
Still, certainly if you win a medal in the Great American Beer Festival, the Great International Beer Festival, it's something to be proud of.
Definitely.
It certainly shows that, that your peers, other brewers, certified beer experts who are, tasting the beer and reviewing it are saying, hey, you got something good here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Now, along those lines, like I've seen following beer and craft beer has gone crazy. Was it Untapped and all that
Yes.
stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
And you see waves of popularity among styles. You'll see session IPAs are real popular right now.
Right.
Grapefruit IPAs. For a while back, it was sours and stuff. Do you guys try to follow that type of stuff, or are you more set on making brewing your styles and sticking to your formula?
Well, you would be remiss to not be aware of the trends.
Sure.
And try to a certain extent at least be aware of those. There are certain things that we would probably never brew because that's just not our style.
Sure.
But again, one of the hallmarks of craft beer is the variety, the difference.
Yep.
That I don't have to drink the same beer every time.
Yep.
So not only is it good from a consumer perspective, it's fun for us to brew different things and cut our teeth on a style maybe we haven't done before.
What's your favorite beer to brew
of ours?
Drink, yeah.
I'll let Ed answer since
I got to say
he's
our
the brewer.
Oktoberfest. That's right now my favorite. But you know what?
Oktoberfest is now out in stores.
Yeah. come January, I'm going to be thinking that a nice
Imperial
porter,
Stout?
or
Okay.
porter
Imperial Stout. We do an Imperial Stout
it's
as
really
well.
good. I've had
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. So I mean, at least I, as a beer drinker, go through phases. I mean, there were 6 years where you couldn't give me enough hops.
Yep.
And I got past that, and then I became, it can't be malty enough. Now I'm looking for more complexity.
Sure.
Now I'm looking for different things in it. But it changes with the season, with I guess the alignment of the moon. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's
the seasons. Once in a while,
Yeah.
I'd be I kind of want to have a Weizen right now and a hot summer.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's late August now, but our Oktoberfest has been out since the beginning of August, and as have most Oktoberfests and pumpkin beers, and it seems to come
Adams
earlier
comes
and
out in
earlier.
April, I think, right?
Yeah. And we're gonna jump the gun. We'll be
Their
brewing
spring
our
ale should be out next week.
Yeah, we're
For the following
we'll be brewing
year.
our summer beer in Christmas time.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it gets earlier and earlier. But it really, the question is like Ed said, it's your mood, it's the season, it's the time, it's what you're doing. It's really, that's what's great about beer, is that you get this huge range of styles that you don't necessarily have to say, well, I'm going to drink this light American lager, and I'm going to drink it, whether I'm at a fancy restaurant or at a backyard picnic, whether it's summer, winter, hot, cold.
You're going to pair it with a steak or with fish, or it may be something different every time.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty being in Connecticut too, is we have those seasons too.
Right.
It's like in San Diego, it's 80 and beautiful all year. So I'm never gonna be in the mood for a porter when it's on a crisp autumn evening.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but to say they're less pronounced.
Right.
It was about 4 or 5 years before I realized there actually are seasons in San Diego. It was 5 degrees different. But,
It does get cold at night.
February,
it goes from
dipped
80 to
55.
50.
Yeah. I needed a parka. Yeah.
The big thing now is IPAs, and it has been for probably at least 5 years, and people just can't seem to get enough, and you have to be responsive to what people want. Our best sellers are Misty Mountain IPA, by a long shot, and we brew more of that. We brew it almost every week. Our summer ale is what we call hoppy blonde ale.
I had that one. That one's really good too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not quite an IPA, but it's brewed with Citra, Simcoe, and Galaxy hops. So in a lot of late additions, it's dry hopped and really has those nice juicy hoppy flavors to it. And but it's not quite an IPA, but I'd put it closer to an IPA than anything else.
Gotcha.
So that is our most popular seasonal. Actually, this past summer, 2015, we brewed 480 barrels of it, as compared to 100 barrels last summer, and 40 the summer before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's actually, and you know, this year we did a lot of cans, and you know, if we had more capacity, we probably would have brewed more. A lot of our other beers, we ran out on. We ran out of. But we tried to brew as much summer as possible, and we probably could have brewed more.
Yeah,
actually,
I for sure think we could have.
But that just goes to show that style and the hoppier beers are what people want. Our Palate Mallet is a double IPA.
Yep, okay.
And you know, that's yeah, yeah. It's I call it one of our fastest selling beer because, you know, it when it goes out, you know, we'll send, you know, a few hundred cases out to our distributor on a Monday. They'll send it out to stores on a Tuesday, and most of the stores will, you know, kind of be out on Wednesday or Thursday, which is great because that's you know, the hoppier beers, you want to drink them fresher.
Right,
Those
yep.
hops fade, and so we're brewing a lot more of the Palate Mallet than we have in the past. And but, you know, it's great that there's a demand for it, and we're happy for that. But that's just goes to show kind of where IPAs are going. And so adding on to those three, we came out with a new IPA. It's called Intergalactic Lupulinary.
That's what I just added.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
Tasty.
And it's 5.4% alcohol. It's got a nice orangish color to it. It is has a nice kind of lemony, melony type aroma from it. The feature hop in there is Galaxy.
Okay.
We also use quite a bit of Amarillo, which is another one of our favorites. And there's a couple other types of hops in there.
Okay.
But a lot of late edition hops. It's dry hops. So you're going to get, you know, more focused on the aroma, and also, you know, that kind of juicy, citrusy, tropical fruit type, you know, flavor. You know, when you taste the beer in the flavor. So that's our fourth IPA, and early indications seem that, you know, people really dig it. So
cool.
We're hopefully going to be brewing more of that. Hopefully getting that in the can, and you know, start canning that. So
is that a seasonal now, or is that kind of like a one-off?
It's a one-off, but hopefully it's going to become a year-round.
Cool.
Yeah.
How many beers do you brew a year? How many different varieties?
Well, we've got 4 year-round beers.
4 year.
You know, starting with the lightest, our Golden Ale, our Back East Ales, and Amber Ale.
Okay.
The third one's our Porter. We brew that year-round. I do like porters in the summer. It's actually a great beer to pair with, you know, kind of barbecue or pulled pork, anything on the grill.
Really good with that. Nice steak.
Our Misty Mountain IPAs, also part of our year-round. We have 4 seasonals. Again, right now we're out, Oktoberfest out. Our Summer Ale, obviously during the summer, and those are both in cans. And then in the winter, which is a little bit slower season, in the spring, we also have some seasonals for winter and spring. So the winter seasonal probably coming out in November. And we're probably going to do the same one we've done the last 3 years now, which is it's a deep chestnut colored amber ale. It's call it Winterfest, and it's actually brewed with honey from Farmington.
Oh, cool.
Jones Apiary.
Yeah, yep. I
So
get my honey there.
And
we use
a touch
lot.
of cinnamon
Touch
gives
of
a
cinnamon.
little bit of a little dryness to it, and cuts the edge of the honey a little bit, but just a touch.
And then we have a spring ale, which is a little bit of lemon peel in there. A Bier de Mars, a March beer,
Which has been a huge. I mean, people love it.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that come in that kind of stock up right as we're running out.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a kind of a fleeting thing. You don't want to. That's probably the shortest kind of season right there.
Spring.
That one right there.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 2 good weeks, and then you're moving on.
Right. The snow melts, and then it's 90 degrees.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Well, at
So it
least
works.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it's been lately. The last few years, it's like winter goes up until about May, and then it's summer.
Right.
I go from heat to AC.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then
some days both.
Yeah, right. How many brews do you guys do a day?
Right now, we're brewing at our capacity. We just, in January of this year, 2015, we finished a pretty big expansion, doubling our capacity. So, you know, the first couple of years we were brewing, got pretty close to our running at 100% capacity. Started planning out this expansion, finished it in January. And now, you know, by March, we were back up to kind of 100% capacity. And that's a great thing. It's just, we're just distributed in Connecticut, so we're not, we're growing it, you know, growing organically here in Connecticut, and you know, just trying to get the name out and that sort of stuff. So we're not expanding to neighboring states or faraway states even. And, you know, once we have more capacity, we'll try and get into different markets. But we've grown about 30% per year every year for the last 3 years since we've opened. So,
so
we're happy with that.
We brew pretty much 2 shifts a day.
Okay.
So about 20 barrels of beer today. 1,200 gallons.
20 barrels would be 620.
620.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, half of that. But that's 4 days a week that we're doing that.
Sure.
Yes, we get double shifts, so someone's here bright and early at 6, 7 o'clock.
Sure.
And usually wrap up around 9, 10, the second shift, second brewer. So we hopefully we'll be outgrowing our brew house, which is kind of our capacity restraint right now. We installed a bunch of new tanks, larger tanks, 40-barrel tanks, and a faster canning line, which is quite an amazing. If you were here a little earlier, we were still canning today, but it's pretty amazing to see that thing in operation. Does about 35, 40 cans per minute, and it really cranks.
Cans are pretty popular too. I noticed. It's kind of like where everyone seems to be leaning.
Yeah, and we were one of the good things is we kind of hit a good point in time for our opening. One being that particularly here in this market, it hadn't really crested yet.
Yeah, the
so
timing
so we got right at the
just a couple years early, it might not have taken off.
Right.
Yeah.
To do a San Diegoism, we hit the tube.
Right. Yeah.
So for that,
Thank you.
and then lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. The timing of opening the brewery.
Yeah.
And the timing of starting to can.
Starting the can.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the original thought that I had. So when we're planning this, we're planning, not only the financial aspects and the styles and the marketing and how we're going to pay for this and all that stuff, but we realized that from the get-go, we could do draft beer.
Yep.
But we need to get into single serving.
Sure.
Things. So, and at that time, not many people had really considered cans. But if you do the research, you realize, boy, cans are, very good for protecting the beer.
Sure.
However, there at the time, again, there was still a lingering bad taste in people's mouths,
right? Yep.
About cans because they hadn't been educated yet. But as luck would have it, by the time we were able to actually pull the trigger, again, right on the crest of acceptance of that type of packaging, we were right there. I think we were the second in Connecticut to can beer.
New England's been canning for a while. Yeah, so we were the first craft brewery in the Hartford area to start canning. New England's been doing it for 7 or 8 years. I mean, I believe, don't quote me, but Rob Leonard has told me that I think they were the third craft brewery in the country to start canning. The first being Oscar Blues, and the second being nobody's sure, and I think New England was the third. So, like Ed said, it took a while to take off. But when we started planning this, actually, our plan was to do 6-pack bottles. Going back 5 or 6 years. But again, after being open for 6 months, things were going well, and we were doing a lot of draft and growlers, and we said, well, we need to get into a single serve, container, and we started doing the research. The timing was right. There were companies were starting to make small canning units suitable for breweries of our size.
Okay.
That was the other thing.
In the past, they were
more
giant.
expensive than glass?
Cans are actually per unit. They're a little bit cheaper. But the drawback is that with cans, the cans actually get pre-printed, so you have to buy 100,000 cans at a time. So it's I think close to $12,000 investment to get 12 pallets of. That's just for the cans, and that's just for one style. So if you're doing 6 different beers, you need to do that for every single beer.
I got
when you look at a can, it's pre-printed. When you look at a bottle, it has a label on it.
Yep.
So if you really wanted to, you could do 100 labels. And just do a specialty run of 100 different bottles, 100 bottles of beer, and just use those 100 labels. But so
make sure that artwork is perfect.
But
we went up. I went up to Saratoga when they ran the lines because there's a ball plant there, and literally inspecting every square millimeter of that can to make sure.
I'm a designer, so I know, you send something to print,
Oh yeah,
right.
That thing better.
Right, I'll show you the pallets in the back, but the minimum order is 12 pallets of cans. Again, 7,780 cans on each pallet.
Sure.
And it's a big investment. So it's a little harder to get a bunch of beer, to get a lot of different styles into cans. Fortunately, we've canned seven or eight different beers now.
Really?
In different styles into cans. So, canning has taken off. Like Ed said, it's better for the beer. Cans block out light. Light causes skunky beer.
Sure.
So you're going to have less of a risk of a skunky beer from canned beer. Again, that's why kegs are made of metal, because they block out light.
Sure.
They also block out oxygen. Cans do a really good job of preventing oxygen, which will cause oxidized and stale beer. And they're more environmentally friendly.
Sure.
They're lighter. They're easy to recycle. They weigh less.
Pack them in a cooler better.
And actually, we could pack them.
So many positives.
The labels don't.
We could fit, because they fit better. We can fit more on a truck.
Sure.
So there's less shipments. There's less space taken up on a truck.
Shipping,
Fuel,
all that,
pollution, all that
When
stuff.
you're running a business, that's the stuff you got to think about.
Right.
But to bottom line, like if you come in and you have me for the tour,
Sure.
What I always say is, bottom line though, is if we felt that bottles protected better, I'd be talking to you about how cool bottles are.
Right.
But really, cans do a better job.
And let's face it, they're more convenient. You don't need a bottle opener to open them. They don't crack and shatter. You're not going to cut yourself.
Yep.
You can crush them when you're done. You can cool them down quicker. They don't have labels that are going to get all soggy at a picnic.
Yep.
You could take them more places: fishing, pools, beaches,
Golfing.
golfing.
A
A lot of places don't allow it. Going to a NASCAR race.
Yep.
Going to a concert.
Sure.
That sort of stuff. You're much better off with cans.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've gotten 100% behind it, and
Cool.
again, we don't do bottles except for the large format and the growler. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
So.
You guys are about to open up pretty soon, so we should probably cut it off here. And if you guys want to mention anything else, Back East Brewing. What's the website?
It's backeastbrewing.com.
.com.
And I'm Tony. I'm one of the co-founders, and
I'm Ed.
And we enjoyed doing this.
Yeah,
and
thanks so much for being on the show. I know
Thank you for having
running
us.
the business is time for doing podcasts. This is probably not in your schedule. But,
well, you know what? I appreciate you coming at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, because that's. We had a few 12-hour days this week, and
it was actually one of the rare times when it worked really well. So
I definitely enjoy the beer, and check out the new beers, the Oktoberfest and the new
Intergalactic Lupulin
IPA.
Yeah.
That's tasty. I recommend it.
Yes.
So I guess we can cut it here, and I'll just say this is a Crazy Creative podcast, and I'm looking for creatives, awesome people who are doing awesome things. If you have a story to tell, let me help you tell your story. And that's it. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Cheers.
you. Cheers.